Good morning and welcome to the Maintaining Sanity podcast. I'm your host, therapist, and author Isaac Huddleston here with my best friend, therapist and author extraordinaire, Eugena Lomax. Make some noise for us.
That was me making noise for us. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
there's some other noise being made, but hey, I have to do it for us as well.
Gotta do it for us. Gotta do it for us. Eugenia, it's good to see you. We haven't recorded in a minute. It's March.
Yes,
Energy's high. Energy's high.
It is Money Making March. It is Women's Month. I went straight from Black History Month, slid into Women's History Month. So, yeah, I'm ready. And I saw a current movie, so you really can't say nothing to me right now.
I really can't. I really can't. I can't say anything to you. And this month is 314 Day. I know we talked about that last year.
We did. We must have. Maybe we need to do a 314 episode, man.
I think we should. We should live stream a 314 episode equipped with Cardinals and Blues paraphernalia, red hot ripples, etc., etc.
I don't know where I was the other day, and they were like, "Oh, do you want some red hot riplet? Like salt on your?" I was like, "Whoa, okay, no, but thank you. I'm happy to see red hot riplets is out here because they held me down a long time."
They sure did. And now I look at it, it makes my blood pressure go up. Like, all that salt. Like, oh my God, I feel so old. Random. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I want to hear your random.
No, but they were, and it's, I'm jumping ahead of months, but they were saying they're going to have the first, 420 day in St. Louis.
I didn't know that.
Maybe it was the smoke day. Is that 420?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, officer. I don't know. You're asking some. I don't know who those guys are with those marijuana sticks.
No, I'm just looking at that like, this is not going to end well. That's all I kept thinking about myself. Like, they're like, oh, we're going to have it in Central West End. I'm like, okay.
I think it will be. I mean, isn't that supposed to? You would think it'd be the chillest of all days, per se.
I would like it to think like that. I just feel like some little gangsters are going to be down there trying to rob people that week. That's what I'm talking about. I think the people that smoke.
Oh, okay.
I'm just about the little gangsters going to be like, oh, all them up there with some weed. Oh, I'm going to rob them. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Okay. So you're talking about.
Yeah.
Team. I don't know what we call. What do they call the little knapsacks they wear? Backpacks or whatever. But
man purses.
I don't think that's the name. But okay. That is. But it's totally. That is kind of how it looks, though.
Yeah, and I support it if that's what they want. They said it's like real fashionable in like Europe. Those male purses. They said like that's where it came from, and that's where it's real. You know, in Paris and Europe, just think they like the fashion capital.
Really, yeah. Random, but is there a country that you just really can't stand? Because France, oh man, if I see France on the streets, I would keep walking. I am not a fan of France. Unless we have some French listeners, then
right.
we,
right.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, we got some French listeners. We want to support you. Welcome to the Maintaining Sanity podcast. However, yeah, I don't know. Some people think that France is very overrated.
Oh, I mean, what y'all come up with? What y'all do? Sorry, I'm just. I don't know why. I don't understand my passion against the French, but it's there. It is there,
and it's okay.
You know who else? Tony Parker. He French. I won't feel in him either.
Wait. You don't like Tony Parker? I thought he would be. Or maybe I'm thinking about Old Lomax because Old Lomax is a specific type of individual that you enjoy, and so Tony Parker would fit into that category. That's why I was like, I've never been a Tony Parker fan. I thought he was solid, but There's some things about him. I'm like, that's somebody Eugena would enjoy a cocktail with. I would enjoy a beverage with Tony Parker. I got you.
You know what? Let's go ahead and like move on with the show.
I got you.
All up in my business.
So Eugena,
hello,
how have you maintained your sanity? What have you done?
That is a great question, and as per usual, I'm trying to think of my answer as I am talking. It's been a lot, but like in a good way. You know, like sometimes after you kind of like move some things around or make some like get a direction, things just seem to fall into place. So, actually, what I'm gonna say is I have been finding my I guess affirmations. Like there have been a lot of people affirming some things for me about like just work wise and personally, like, so sometimes we have to look for the signs that affirm us that we are on the right track. And that's what I've been doing. And it's been lovely. And I've been telling people, hey, I received that compliment. Thank you. Because no compliment should go unsaid.
Got you. And you just out here with bars. I think that's amazing. Mm-hmm. That is awesome that you are receiving it and taking it in. And that you are feeling the affirmations because you definitely deserve them.
Well, thank you, sir.
Hats off to you. For sure.
Hats off to me. I don't even know what to say to that. You don't want me to. Anywho, Isaac, how have you maintained your sanity?
Great question. I'm not prepared for it. I was trying to think as you were speaking, but I feel like I've been doing a lot of different things. One of the things I've been doing is I've been connecting with people from my past on social media, and it was scary at first. And I guess the reason was because I didn't know how a lot of relationships were. You know what I mean? So it's like I haven't talked to these people, I haven't seen these people since 20 some odd years, and so it was just kind of like
where did we end this? How did it go?
Right, because we went to high school together, but we didn't really talk, or we weren't cool and then we stopped being cool, and so it was just like I had this anxiety just about saying what's up, and it was like reaffirmed that like we're all in different spaces, we're all in good spaces. It was like a good feeling, like just to be able to say what's up to people that we shared moments with, and them being like, yeah, what's up? How are you doing? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm married with kids, and they're like, oh yeah, I'm doing good, I'm married, whatever. And it's just like people like, oh, you're doing such a positive thing with the counseling, and keep it, going, and just get that affirmation, because it was just like when I was in school, I was the athlete, I was the silly guy athlete, you know what I'm saying? So now it's just like I'm still silly, I'm definitely not an athlete, but I'm in a different space.
Former athlete. Former athlete.
Hall of Fame, to some, Right.
I don't think it counts if you're like in your house's Hall of Fame. Like, oh, they got my jersey hanging from the bathroom rafters.
But and even like so shout out to the Family Bloodline podcast. That's a podcast by my friend James. Round of applause for them. They had me as a guest.
Are they a friend of our pod, or are we all just pod friends?
I think we all just pod friends.
Okay. I love it.
And so it was just good because, like I said, me and James, we just started talking because we actually did win a championship. We won a Hoop It Up championship. So, no, man, everybody be hating on it. We ran the city. We was hooping. We ran the city. We won our division in commanding fashion. And so, me and James
hold on. Excuse me. Hold on. Time out. I think it was like the last episode where I was like, hey, I just don't really feeling these autobiographies with these people still alive, because how the memory can be. Not saying y'all didn't win, because obviously I always knew I was in the presence of a champ. However, what is commanding? Like, what does that mean?
Well, I could dive into it a little bit, but I mean, it was a lame coach that I didn't like. He said something powerful. He said that the older you get, the better you were. So I like that phrase. Like, yeah. So of course, the way I remember in my brain, I was dunking over everybody, and we were averaging, 1,000 points a game. I don't know. Nobody scored on us. I don't know. I don't know what commanding is. But the older I get, boy, how great I was. So
yes.
I'm gonna live in that moment.
I wonder. Wait, but do you think? I'm assuming Hoop It Up was national, right? Like they would go to other cities as well.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
I just remember it was a really big deal here.
Oh my God! It used to be everything. It used to be. Yeah. We used to live for it. Like it was great. So so that's what I did to maintain my sanity. I've been reconnected in a healthy way with people from my past. Just asking them how they've been doing, what have you. They've been asking how I've been doing. Just what I'm saying. So it's just been real cool, real cordial, and it helped me. Like I don't know what part of me it kind of opened up, but I had this crazy anxiety for no reason. It's like everybody's different, or we're all different, and everybody for most part supporters. You know what I'm saying? So it helped me. I liked it.
Well, that's good, and I'm happy that we have a new friend of the pod, the Family Bloodline podcast. It was a very nice and I thought a very needed topic. So yeah, I enjoyed, and my Twitter fingers also enjoyed.
You funny. You are funny. So a topic that I kind of was thinking about wanting to discuss today is a topic that comes up in, I want to say, probably like 98% of my sessions, if not more, is the concept of parenting issues. Sometimes people say, I got daddy issues or you got mama issues. And a lot of times it's parental issues. So before we even start this topic, I want to send a PSA or make sure I'm being very clear. I am not talking about my mother. I'm not speaking about my father. Eugena is not speaking about her mother. Eugena's not speaking about her father. Everything that we are saying is strictly based off of our experience in this field. So for any family members who are listening to this, please don't uninvite me from the cookout. Like, you went on your podcast. I am not saying anything. I would never come on my platform and discuss anything personal between myself, between my family members that I love. That's not the place.
I don't know. I think you might not go to Easter, bro.
But yeah.
No, thank you for that PSA though, because you are right. Like this is not. We're not speaking from the space of children. We're speaking from the space of emotionally mature adults.
Big facts. Big facts.
Thank you.
And so this concept of parenting, and there's a lot of tropes that I've seen as it relates to parents. So a common trope that I see, and I want to hear maybe some that you have, or what your thoughts about this one that comes up so often. I hear parents say, when you get 18, you're out this house. You're done. You're gone. You gotta be doing something, because at 18, you're done, and I'm gonna live my life. That strikes a chord in me whenever I hear that. So people will say that the state of Missouri is now the governing body on how to raise children, right? So it's like, I hate that.
Yeah, that's spicy. I get it. I can understand where that may have come from. However, I'll just say that like my view on parenting, I don't necessarily agree with that stance. Right. Now I agree with the stance of, hey, at 18, you have to, and not even at 18. Hey, once you graduate high school, you have to be doing something, whether it's working full time, going to school, doing a combo of both. It's fine, but you got to be somewhere for 40 hours.
Right.
Right. You know what? I'd even take 30 hours part time, but you just, we're not a well run homeless shelter. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's a bar. But no, I also think that it's parents' responsibility to try to nurture those relationships. And every child is not created equal, in that some children are more ready to leave the nest than others. So yes, and I want to kind of nurture that. And I feel like that's what we should be doing as parents anyway. We should be trying to gear them towards owning their own business, going to a trade school, going to college, doing something so they can be self-sufficient in life. That's a role of a parent. But just because you reach the age of 18 doesn't mean that magically that you're going to have skills that you may not have developed. Like, it's like, no, like we say it all the time. Actual age and emotional age are two totally different things. Totally
couldn't
different.
Be, yes.
And so it's just, when think about parenting, that's just a trope that really, I get it, like Eugena said, I understand it. But it does rub me, because it sounds almost like we're just, you got to be gone because I want to be me. And it's like you said all the time, as parents, you asked for these children. You didn't ask for them for 18 years. You asked for me to be here. I had no choice of being here. So
this is my no choice.
Right. If you are the blessing,
yes.
Like if our kids are the blessing, then we can't just say at 18, then so they're no longer a blessing. No, when they start young adulthood, they 1,000% are going to probably need us more, because a lot of times they be tuning us out. Feel like, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. That was back in your day, back in the black and white days.
Yes.
Oh my God, you don't know what you're talking about.
That was back when they had Hoop It Up, Dad.
Stop with the Hoop It Up.
No, you a chimp.
I am.
No, so I kind of want to just throw, and I'm sure this may be a spicy take, but something that really has been kind of coming up a lot for me is accountability. Like, I've been hearing this word from other people. I've been saying, the last week and a half, it's been a lot about accountability. And so I would like to say this. There are some parents who don't understand that what's happening at 15, 16, and 17 is really holding you accountable for what you did when they were 4, 5, and 6. We can't wait till they're a teenager and then we want to parent them in a specific way or whatever. All that starts way sooner than that. And so I think a lot of times parents do feel like they're teenagers, they're adults, which really they're not. They're just kids in an adult body. And sometimes I have to say, tell myself that to remember to speak nicer. But yeah, I just think you might not have done the work on the front end. And so now on the back end, sometimes this is a direct result of the consequences of your choices. And sometimes it's not, because kids are kids and they can have their own mind. But a lot of times, definitely the parenting style plays into the choices that the kid makes.
Eugenia, you stated that eloquently. That was
Thank you.
Exactly. I agree with you 100%. And it's something my mother used to always say. She said, children, flower growing. And then while they're growing, you can move them and shift them. But once they get to a certain age, they're like a tree. And now they can't move because now they have developed all of these coping skills or attachment styles, what have you. And so I think that when they're young, some parents go into parenting with a false sense of what it will be like. Like, I get to just dress this child up. I get to have it look cute, take a bunch of cute pictures, and everything's going to fall into place. And that's not exactly how it works. Like, it takes work. It takes consistency, and it takes structure. So even with me, with my children, and I'm no one's blueprint. Please, I don't want people saying, "Oh, Isaac," I'm not. No. We were just talking before we got on here. I'm like, I mess up all the time, but I gotta own that. I gotta apologize and hold myself accountable. I gotta role model those behaviors to my son. Like, I ain't always perfect, and have those conversations. But me, I'm my kid. No, you'll say yes sir and no sir to me. That is not a soldier, but it instills respect. It instills a hierarchy. I'm not better than you. I can't be better than you are, but I'm your father. And so having that respect, instilling that respect kind of sets those boundaries that I can't be your friend. I have to be your father. I love you. That doesn't mean that I don't.
Out.
Right. None of that, because we have movie nights. We be laughing and joking. We be doing TikTok videos, whatever.
Y'all be in the streets. The streets. So,
but that's a part of me instilling that structure and that dynamic that I am your father. And so by the time they get older, and now my son is taller and bigger than me, I've already got it's already instilled. Like, this is my dad. I need to respect him, even though he may be physically stronger or taller or more dominant than me, because of him growing. But it's already instilled that no, this is my dad. I need to respect him.
And if we're being honest, I was just thinking about this in regards to that. Is a lot of times people are growing at the same rate as their children. So if you have a child and you're not emotionally mature when that child is born, a lot of times y'all are going through some maturity together. And so it can skew, I guess, the relationship a bit, because while at some point I'm your friend and I'm just, telling you what to do, but then I get this, and then I'm like, no, you can't. And the kid will most times rebel because this ain't what you said yesterday.
Gotcha.
It has to be like some consistent. Yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
I have a question about that. So do you feel like that creates codependency? So if a parent is emotionally immature and the child is growing up and then they try to be like besties, do you feel like it can kind of create a weird dynamic? Because there's sometimes, I want to hear your response first, then I'll say what I feel sometimes. Do you feel like it can create like a codependency type of, if they are emotionally?
Yeah, actually I would before I would say codependency, I would say enmeshment. Okay. And I noticed that a lot of people don't really look and understand how enmeshment works in families. So what will happen is we'll say, oh, they are such a close family. So-and-so, wow, they just really, ooh, look at them. They all got on their, Coca-Cola 4th of July t-shirts,
Yeah.
But what happens is no one can make a decision without everybody. And we can't do this unless everybody does it. And that doesn't allow really for the child to be an individual.
Right.
It's like we come as a package, and it's not fair to the child at all. But yeah, and then after that, your relationship dynamics, for the most part, are probably going to be skewed unless both get some maturity.
That's a fact. And I was just talking to a teammate, and I was trying to explain to him, I said that as children, most of us will do anything to maintain a connection to our parent figures, even if they're unsafe or abusive. Like, and a lot of times with us, like, we rationalize their behavior through self-blame. Instead of it's something that's wrong with them, it's something's wrong with me. Like, if I'm doing something wrong, and it's like, no, that's not how it works,
Well, and you were talking about tropes earlier.
Yeah.
The trope that I really like, I want to say, don't say that, is, but it made me a better person. How we know? How do we know that just because your mama hit you in the head, now you better for that? Like, no. Like, I understand that we have to tell her that maybe that is something we have to tell ourselves to get through it. But let's be honest, that hurt and that wasn't okay. And I have some feelings around that, as opposed to, hey, like she was hard on me, but I'm a better person for it. Are you really? Because you're kind of crying right now, but we're gonna move through that.
Did you have to learn that lesson that way? Like, was there any other options of how you could have learned that lesson other than the skillet upside the head? Like,
yes,
just because. But no, we hear it all the time. Oh yeah, my mom threw me down a flight of steps, but you know what? That's just how it was back then. And it's like, no, that hurt you.
Yeah,
and it was excessive, and you could have learned whatever lesson that you were trying to be taught another way, and that trope, like, Eugene, I have spent so much time in sessions trying to help people understand that,
that
pain doesn't equal love. Like, it doesn't have, like, it
doesn't. Could you say it again? Because that is a bar.
That is a bar. That is a pain doesn't have to equal love. Like,
thank you.
It doesn't have to.
Yeah,
it don't have to hurt you to know that you love me.
I don't know. I just yes. I'm here for Women's History Month. You are really bringing it, brother. You are really bringing it. Are you trying to? I just realized we don't have a Male History Month, but that's because it's a patriarchal society. But we won't get into that.
I do not like this patriarchal society. I want to go on record. I want to go on record. Men have done some bad things. I want to be on record saying that. Okay.
So let me ask, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you think a parent, because you said earlier, like, I just have to be accountable, apologize, and try to role model. What would you say would be the best way or a good way? What's a strategy that you would use if you wanted to apologize to your kid for some parenting missteps, per se?
Gotcha. I guess it just kind of depends on what the misstep was. And I was trying to think of a situation that I've had recently or I had in the past, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head where that I could safely say on here. But no, I had a conversation. Well, I'll definitely, I do know one. Back when my son used to play basketball, I was that parent in the stands that was going crazy, yelling at the refs, yelling at everybody, not yelling at my son, but everybody else. And in my mind, I'm feeling like I'm supporting him. In my mind, I'm feeling like I'm holding everybody else accountable. In my mind, I feel like I'm keeping him safe because they're doing it wrong to him. That's what's going through my mind when I'm doing my yelling or what have you. And so I did have to apologize to my son. And I was like, I'm sorry that, because I was starting to notice that it was affecting his play. Like, he wouldn't want to be participating when I'm the loud, crazy dad in the stands. And we've all seen him. I was that guy. I own it.
Well, sir, I would say you were definitely spirited, and also
you was at the game,
also very witty, very witty. I love a witty get back, and you were good at those.
Right, and so I had to apologize to Isaiah, and just tell him, like, I'm not conducting myself in a way that's helping you grow. I said, so what I'm going to do is, I said, I'm passionate about this because I love you, I care about you, but this is not, I don't think this healthy for you. So what I started doing was, I just started recording the games on my iPad or on my phone, and then I can talk to Isaiah about whatever. And I just let the refs be the refs. Like, them guys are making $35 a game. So what is the expectation? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
So that's a time where I just had to own it. But it's been other times where I've had to ask my kids, like, what role do you think you have as a child? And they'd be like, I don't know, go to school, clean my room. I'm like, so what role do you think I have as a as a dad. And they'd be like, oh, well, you got to pay bills and buy us stuff. I'm like, interesting, interesting way y'all see me. But I said, also, yeah, I said, and it's not, I said, there's no, I may not always do things right, but I'm going to always do things out of love. And I'm going to try to always do what's best for you all. And it's not always, it won't always land right. And so anything that you may feel I'm doing or not doing, I hope you can talk to me about it because I'm willing to change. I'm willing to grow. So I've had these conversations with them both my son and my daughter.
Okay. So I'm trying not to skirt over into something else.
Gotcha.
But like that's doing the work when they're young.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because now we've already set and maybe parents, non-parents, TTs, unks, whoever, I will say one thing you can do is always set and make and create an emotionally safe space. Like everyone can do that. And the way you do it is just listening, affirming their feelings, explaining to them maybe like kind of where you were coming from or how you understood things so that they can get and understand that like it's not, you know what I mean? Like just because you're an adult, you're not always the right person. But if we make those spaces, we will get those conversations later that could, really pivot how this kid's going to move. If they feel comfortable enough coming and say, hey, like, I was thinking about having sex or I was thinking about doing this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, they might not have done that had they not felt that safe space was there. And so to me, creating emotional safety is highly important in order to raise kids or just be an important person in a kid's life.
That's real, Eugena. That's so real. And parenting, not based off of what dynamic you encountered during your journey. So I'm an inner city dude raising a suburban family. The tools and things that I had to endure is not their experience. They have a whole new set of experiences. And so if I don't listen to them and know what their experience is, how am I going to know? I don't know what it's like going to school post-pandemic. I don't know what it's like to be a teenager in those high schools right now. I don't know. I was talking to my son the other day. He doesn't wear a coat. And it's just like freaking me out. I'm like, bruh. And then when driving to school, I'm dropping them off in the morning, none of the kids are wearing coats. Everybody just got hoodies and tights on or hoodies and sweats. So no one at his high school is wearing a coat. So why am I going to sit here and have this argument with him about you need to put a coat on, but they don't even have lockers at school. So then he got to walk around with the coat on. But if I don't listen to him and I just look at, you're going to be sick and you're going to do, yeah, he may catch a cold, and that's natural, logical. Like he got the sniffle. But if I listen to him and he like, hey, I get hot at school, I don't have a locker. We all just like if I listen to him and take that in, then I can learn about his experience now. Different when us because us old folks, we have to walk up 9 hills and travel through a war zone to get to school.
Bus for 6 hours. Wow. Yeah, but I that's real. But I also think if you want to be a good parent or once again, I'll say an important person in a kid's life, it truly takes honest reflection. And a lot of times parents are parenting for themselves. And what I mean by that is you're trying to be the parent that you wanted or that you think, should have been, I just give a little small example. Let's just say that, we just talking about the buses, right? And for a lot of people, especially that live in St. Louis City, they had to they got bussed out to the county. And so you are on the bus for 2-3 hours, each day. Mm-hmm. Also, you had to get up earlier because, you had to still get to your school on time. And so now let's just say one of those parents wakes up with their teenager every morning, not you, talking about other folks, and that kid doesn't need somebody to be up with them early.
Yeah.
They are totally capable of getting up, getting on. But because that was something that this person needed, when they were younger, like, oh no, I'm gonna be up here. Well, so now you're wasting your sleep because it's not needed. You're parenting for yourself and not for what this kid needs. And so that what you were saying is just about listening to them and letting them explain and everything, like that's super important. But a lot of people, it's about them and their kid is just, they don't see their kid as a person. I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean?
I understand it. I understand it. It's kind of go back to that, and we said it many episodes ago when we was talking about magpie birds and how when a magpie bird makes his nest, it decorates it with all of these glass and all these things to make it shiny, to show off to the whole world. And sometimes it feels like this is part of the nest. I just want to be able to say, or this is part of my nest. Look at how shiny. Look at my kids. Look at what I. And this person's like, I don't know. I'm gonna probably get killed for that. I'll probably erase it. But I don't know. I kind of feel like some people. That's what it is like about. It's just like.
No, it really is.
I'm living through my kids.
So,
like, what?
Yes. So I actually, with a book that I'm reading, Master Your Emotions. I can't remember who it's by, but it is really good and I love it. I think it's Thomas or somebody like that. But he brings up a point about parents who live through their kids and how that's an enmeshment of feelings as well. So your kid scores 10 points. You scored 10 points. You walking around like, hey,
Manchester. Right.
Yeah, like, as opposed to, what if we just let that be the kids' moment? Hey, great job. And us step back, and we don't necessarily need to get these accolades from these other parents or whatever. And just because you loved it doesn't mean your kid gonna love the game.
Got you. And I think that's so difficult for a lot of people to take in. That is a hard concept, I feel like, because...
What do you think makes it tough?
Well, when you were speaking about parenting based off what you didn't have, or did I? Because
no, that's right.
I read this. I listened to this podcast, Early Leisure. Shout out to him. And one of I can't remember which one. He was saying, he was like, try not to give your kids what you didn't have, but try to teach them what you didn't know. And I was like, that's a real bar. And I somehow say all the time, I try to teach my children everything I know. So when I'm changing them,
I know. I'm like, bro, lead them
I know. I know. I feel like I just be wilding, but everything, like things I wasn't taught. Change the fuse box and how to budget and mortgage and interest and all those things. Like, I'm a teacher. I'm not relying on the school to do it. And a lot of times when I'm trying to teach them, they're like, hey, Dad, like, go away. Like, but I don't know what's going to stick and what's not. But instead of like, I want them to have things I didn't have. But I think when you start speaking about like, if you didn't have this parent in your life, some of us feel like, man, had I had this style of parent or this parental figure, then I would have been able to get this much further. Or if I would have this type of training or whatever from a tutelage or protection, I would be able to have ascended. And so then when they have their kids, they operate from that hurt and say, all right, I'm going to make sure you have this tutelage to play football or whatever. And it's like, they may not even like football. So it'd be like, you're giving them this and then you're frustrated because like, man, if I would have had me as a kid, I would have been, first team all American, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, no, that's not how it works. You got to listen to them.
I just thought of another thing that really grinds my gears.
What be grinding your gears, Queen?
Hats off to the gear grinders. When people speak to children as if they're adults.
Oh my God. I'm with you. I'm about to bang my head against the wall. As soon as you said it, I got triggered. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've worked so hard on this show, guys. You don't even know how hard I work to not curse, because I love cursing, and I'm really good at it. You know,
you are really good cursing.
Thank you. I learned. Hey, anywho, but speaking to kids, especially when you're doing it out of anger and frustration about something, and speaking to them as if they're adults, but and just completely disrespectful. You know, F you a little B. I heard someone tell their child, so you just a little hoe out here now, huh? Let me know how that works out for you, buddy. Because then we have, now we have all this hurt. And sometimes those are the very ones that don't ever want to be apologized, because I had to, and da-da-da-da. And, I feel like we've been saying a lot about mamas, but daddies are the same way,
yes.
Sometimes as far as living through their kid and just, if you start I don't know. That is abuse. And
yes.
we have to start calling it what it is. It's emotional and verbal abuse. And sorry, my gears were grinded, so I had to say that.
No, that's a great point. And I think that I'm so glad you brought that up, because it is something that I feel like is sometimes normalized, that I'm the parent and I can just talk to you any type of way. And that's not okay. Like it's like I said, it is abuse. It's unneeded, and it's not effective communication. And oftentimes I would speak to parents and ask them, what would happen if I were to speak to your child like that? I wouldn't like it. We'll be fighting. Got you. So you would want to get violent with me for talking to your child like that. So why is it okay for you? Like, how do you treat things that you value? How do you treat things that you appreciate? How do you treat things that you ask God for, that you ask for this blessing? So this is a blessing you asked for, and here you are.
What if I didn't ask for it?
Tell me
because more. I'm about to get real. I'm about to get three-piece spicy up in here, but like, there are parents, and if they're being honest, I'm only talking about the parents who are willing to be honest and put it on the table. Right. This kid triggers me because they remind me of my ex, who's their parent, who was abusive or who did whatever. And so, like, yes, and so they triggered. And so, there's no way you're going to treat that kid the same that you would treat the others. And that's okay, but let's acknowledge it. Let's work through, that, because we all know, like, yes, it's not your fault, kid, that you look like your mama. It's okay. But people have to be honest and honest with themselves. And so if that is triggering you, work through that so that you can be a better parent for that kid.
And that's a fact, Eugena. And that type of self-analysis or self-evaluation is a deeper level of commitment to yourself, a different level of self-love, to be able to say, I haven't healed from the hurt that my ex caused me. I haven't healed from that. And so when I see you, and of course you're going to have some of the mannerisms as your parents.
It's genetics. It's genetics.
Right. I may sit the same way. I may run the same way. I may talk the same way. And so if you're taking that out on me for a decision that you made with your mate, you chose him. You chose her. The child did not choose to be here. And so if you haven't worked through and healed, then you're going to take it out on that child. And I hear this so much in sessions about people say, I feel like my parent didn't love me. I feel like my parent took it out on me. I feel like my parent liked my other siblings more than
siblings better, yeah.
Oh, and we're not going to even get into the colorism. Like, that's still a real thing, because some parents would be, some teammates have said that, oh, I am this complexion and my other siblings was this complexion and they got treated more favorably. That's a real thing that we deal with in session. So when we're speaking about this is coming from actual sessions with teammates that we've had, and we've talked about these things.
And so it's super problematic because people don't want to talk about it and just be open and honest. Parenting is so effing hard. You don't get credit for it. A lot of times you halfway think you're doing it wrong, but you're still trying. And especially when they get to this certain age, now they ungrateful, or they seem ungrateful, or they're not giving us the respect that we feel like we should be getting. And so I completely understand, and I throw no shade to any parent.
Right.
All I'm asking people to do is be honest with yourself. Are you being the best parent? Are you communicating with this kid, in the best manner? Because the F you and you a B and you ain't doing this and you ain't doing this, and those things don't work.
Not at all.
If you want a healthy relationship, but
Yeah. And those are great points, and it also leads me to think about another point that I know we was talking about. I don't think this pre-production, but back that, and maybe we've talked about on the show, I can't remember. The world just runs together. But we were talking about how you don't get the same parents.
Yes.
So if I have a child at 16, I'm a teenage parent. I'm still emotionally and physically growing, and I have a child. Not only am I dealing with all the physical and emotional things, but I'm also dealing with the worldview, how the world sometimes looks at teenage parents. Like, oh my goodness, what has happened? You had a child. It's like, so you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
And so if I have a child at 16 versus if I have a child at 30, I'm completely different. My resources have changed. My outlook has changed. My body has changed. I've learned some things, trial and error with the first child. And so sometimes siblings can feel like, oh my goodness, you wasn't like this with me. You wasn't this patient with me. You wasn't this, that, or the third. I just challenge people to understand that you don't get the same thing.
Yeah, and that goes too with people who may not have been the best parent being a great grandparent. That can also, I just think if we all just have more open communication. But I just was thinking of this one little part, and maybe we can do another episode soon down the road about this. But the amount of, especially Black women, who almost died during childbirth.
Man.
That is traumatic. That's beyond traumatic. And you can't tell me when you look at this kid, it doesn't, it's going to remind you of that time. It's going to take you back to that place. That doesn't mean you're going to take it out. Yeah, it doesn't mean that you're going to take it out on the kid or anything, but that kid could trigger that trauma. And so working through those things, is very important. But that is something that we really don't talk about a lot. And it is truly, truly like birth trauma is a real thing.
Eugena, you brought up such a great point. I didn't even think about that. But just imagine if that is birth trauma. And every time when you see this child, sometimes it can be triggering. And imagine this child being ungrateful. Like, and they're like, oh, and you're like, oh my God, I nearly died bringing you into this world. And you're not going to vacuum that carpet. Like, you might go to 10 because it's like, this is a real thing. I really went through this trauma. So birth trauma is so important. I'm so glad that you brought up that point. And even going back to the point about sometimes I think you brought up a great point. You was talking about that emotional maturity. Yeah. So if your parent had you young or whenever they had you, and then 20 years later, they are like amazing. I've had teammates feel resentment, like you were nothing like that. Not being able to see like, well, one, being a grandparent is a lot easier than being a parent because I get to come in, do a bunch of fun stuff, spend some money, spend some time, and then send you back. So it's a very different dynamic.
Hey, and that is one thing I'll enjoy about the TT life. Get on home, big dog. Get on home.
Yeah, yes. And so that's a real thing. But I've heard people say sometimes, like, this parent wasn't like this for me. Or even still, I think something I see more is that this parent wasn't here for me, but then during the same time went across town and was being a father or a mother
to somebody
else. I think that is, go ahead.
I was going to say, though, and it's usually because they're living with that other...
Yes.
That other... paramour or whatever the heck the word is.
Paramour.
Sorry, using my court word, my court paper.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, and so I do want to challenge people sometime on that note too is, but are they really being a parent or do they just live with them?
Right.
Two totally different things.
Yeah. And that's a great point, because just because you are somewhere else and you're present doesn't mean that you are parenting. Because if I'm sitting here and the mom is doing everything, I'm just here on the couch drinking beers and watching football, I'm not parenting. So I'm not parenting, I'm just there. You can see me. Yeah, but it doesn't mean I'm actually parenting.
Correct. Parenting takes engagement.
Facts.
And so a lot of times too, and we don't talk about how depression can look in a family. So it could look like somebody just completely disengaged for years.
Yeah.
You know, everybody got, Uncle Leroy that just, he ain't gonna say nothing. He'll get his plate. But yeah, like that could be depression. Uncle Leroy might not just be a quiet person. Like, but yeah, I don't know why I was getting off on that tangent.
But no, you made a great point. And then I tell teammates all the time, your parents, our parents probably did the best they could with the tools that they had. That doesn't relieve them of any hurt they've caused or take them off the hook for anything. I'm not saying that, but I'm also stating that let's look at the world. Let's just look at it. Let's say I'm struggling as a parent present day. I can listen to the Maintaining Sanity podcast and get some bars from Eugena and Isaac. Right. I could get some tips. So let's take it back 30 years. I'm a parent. I'm 18. My home life is crazy. Terrible. Right? Where can I get some tools from? Where am I going to get these skills from? And so I'm just saying this ain't different time. This is information age now. You can get information. You can get strategies. Mental health and therapy and all those things are more talked about now. Still in our culture, the Black culture is still some strain there.
We're working.
Yeah, and that's what makes our podcast amazing, because we normalize it and talk about therapy on a level that resonates with everyone. We can come in here and talk about Bowen's theories and attachments and Erickson's. And I don't need all that.
Yeah.
We want to talk to you on a level that you can pick up, that resonates with everyone. So when you think about that, if you ask me to play golf, I'm not a good golfer. So if I keep trying to, I can work at it, I can get better. But it's also, if you know you're not a good golfer, then you're not going to want to play golf. That's not justifying why, if you make these decisions to have a kid, I'm not letting anybody before people start killing. Nah, if you say you have, I get it.
Well,
but I'm just saying, some parents are just not good parents. These just not.
You're woohoo!
I know. I'm gonna get canceled. I'm gonna get canceled though.
No.
There's some parents just not good. You're not, but you can work at it. You're not better.
And but you're not trying.
Yes.
That's the thing. I also think let's normalize having conflicting feelings. We are taught like we only have one feeling at a time and da. No, I can love you, but I can also understand that you made choices that were very hurtful to me. Both things can be true at the same time.
Right.
I can love you and not like you. I can love you and like you. I can like you and not love you. All these things can happen. All these feelings can be at the same time. It's okay. So you can have conflicting feelings about parents or family members, and you just have to be honest with yourself about it. Because if not, it's going to show up in that relationship some way, shape, or form in a way that you don't want it to.
Absolutely. And that brings up, I think that's a great point, Eugenia. And even when we speak about, I talk to teammates all the time about this, the absent parent. Parents not being there, parents not being involved, parents being inconsistent. And I always challenge people to think about it from a different lens. What if that parent would have been there and they would have been maladaptive, if they were abusive, if they were a murderer? Then you would have been seeing all the negative things and picking those things up. So it's oftentimes the go-to is, my life would have been better had this parent been around. But I challenge us to reflect, like, it may have been worse. You may have learned or been exposed to some things that would hurt you in the long run. And that doesn't, so even when you talk about, like, a parent not being there, a parent saying, hey, maybe that parent knew. Maybe that parent knew, I have nothing to offer. I'm in the streets. I'm doing whatever. Not making any excuses. But they may have said, like, I'm not coming around because I come around, I'm going to be, I don't know.
No, I really wish that more adults would, like, maybe we should wear that as a badge. Like, what do we have to offer? Because I want somebody to have a badge that says, I have nothing to offer. So I can just keep walking past. Like, okay, I heard. You know what? Message received. Message received. I got you.
We get it. You have no value. Keep going. Right. But no, I just always try to look at things from a strength-based perspective. So maybe you not being around, maybe that was a blessing in disguise. And I can still be hurt by that. I can still be triggered by that. I can still feel like, hey, had you been here, I would have learned this. But I also try to redirect it, like, you not being here, I still survived. I still thrived. And if we're going to have a relationship present day, maybe you have more skills now. I can build a bridge to have a relationship with you, and I can close that bridge. I can put a toll on that bridge, or I don't have to build a bridge at all. And this brought me to a conversation that you brought up. Let's say you have a strained relationship with a parent. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're an adult. And you have a strained relationship with your parent. Whose responsibility do you feel it is to try to build a bridge or to work at the relationship as an adult? Not talking about adolescents, because adolescents, my vote is definitely on the parents. Like, I don't know what the research says.
Yeah, by far.
But when you're young, that's parent.
I want to look at it in like both sides. So I think it would all depend on who is the lack of relationship bothering the most, right? Like, because wouldn't they be the first person to step up? Because if I have a strained relationship with a parent, and okay, let's just say my parent was the person that had nothing to offer, right?
Okay.
They got their little button on. I ain't got nothing to offer. Right?
No value here.
No value. Team no value. Then having that strained relationship may not bother me. I may have come to terms with it, and I'm okay with it. So if that was the case, it would be on the parent. However, if I'm like, okay, I'm 30 and I kind of want to, I say you reach out. Actually, I say you can extend the bridge. The parent still has to do a lot of the repairing, because you in the dynamic, you two are never equal. So yeah. So some of it will fall on the parent. I just think it's all about whoever is wanting to try to repair that relationship.
Yeah, and
that's a really good question. I would love if people could email in and let us know what you think about that question. for adult children, who is responsible for reaching out and working on the relationship? Is it the parent? Is it the adult child? Email us at show@insanitypodcast.com, or you can hit us up on the website at www.insanitypodcast.com. Also, we are looking for some new Patreon people. We actually have a lot of upcoming things that are going to be free for Patreon members. So please, you can join at www.patreon.com/HuddleMax.
And I appreciate that, Eugena, letting people know where to find us and how to support the show. I think
Yes.
that and we can begin to wrap it up, but the last thing you said was such a bar. And I think what you said was the definition of like the difference between healthy and dysfunctional relationships is the ability to repair, in my assessment. So,
Yes.
but, well, I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I got a lot of feelings. Like you talked about, I got a lot of different feelings. So, yes, but I just keep challenging people to realize that you are a limited resource. And so, if building a bridge to try to repair a strained relationship is draining your resources, you don't have to build a bridge. You can set those boundaries in, and you can meet if you choose to. It has to be your choice. Meet them where they're at. So if you know that bringing up and talking about how they wasn't there for you and bringing up how they did this, if that's something you want to do, great. But if you just want to have a bridge to say, hey, I'm going to talk to this parent as it relates to the basketball game. I'm going to talk to this parent as it relates to the grandchildren. That's okay. As long as you're doing the self-work and the self-healing, I challenge you to. But if the parent, and a lot of them may not have the tools to know how to repair it, you build the bridge and say, you know what? This is how we're going to be in our adult life. We can talk about this. This is not us being fake. This is just that what's going to come out of talking about it. They probably have developed all of these things they told themselves to cope. Like if you know you're bad at golf, you've been telling yourself, "Oh, because I had the wrong clubs," or
they didn't have any courses in my hood, so you know
they got all these reasons why they're not good at golf. So it's just like, I don't know if I need to hear that, but I have a relationship with you as it relates, and you may be a great grandparent. So I'll allow you to have that relationship if you're safe. Like, yeah, be them. I may not need anything from you, but if I want to build a bridge, I can. And so to answer my own question, I tend to want to build bridges just so I can control the bridge, so to speak. Because it may be a part of them that
makes sense.
So if I build a bridge, then I have the control, the power. Like, no, you can't come across it today. Now I can set the boundaries. But I don't know. Maybe deeper. I don't know. I gotta unpack it some more. I gotta unpack it.
That was, yeah, because I'm like, well.
Yeah. It's multi-layered.
It is very multi-layered. And I just think that people want, in all types of relationships, romantic relationships, family dynamics, all these things, people want the idea of what it should be.
Right.
As opposed to what it is and like what it can be. Because some people, like you said, no value, right? If you're no value, I can't expect you to pay the bills.
Right.
Right. So if I have that idea in my head that that's what the expectation is, and you have no value, you're never going to reach my expectations, and I'm constantly going to be disappointed. Facts. So rather than keep having this idea of you being the breadwinner, maybe I'm just going to sit with it and understand, like, you ain't got it in you.
Right.
It was never, and honestly, that's something that people really have to understand about their parents sometimes is they don't necessarily have what we need, right? They can't love us in the way that we need. They can only love us in the way that they know how to. And so right. It's just like if you go to a gas pump, and it's diesel, and all you need is premium. That's how it is sometimes. It's nobody's fault. It's not the pump's fault. It's not the car's fault. It's just that the pump doesn't have what the car needs. And so that's how it is sometimes with parents. And if we can learn that and stop unlearning what society tells us a parent should be, because half of what they say, it ain't it. Nobody's getting it. Nobody's getting that parent. You know, it's an idea.
And that's a bar, Eugenia. And I think this is a great topic, and we could talk about this for another hour, but I think I'm going to ask Marlon to go ahead and cue the music.
Okay.
Unless there's something else that you want to say. And I do have a positive affirmation. Do you have one?
No, I want to hear you lace us with some greatness here.
Got you. Well, this is it's two affirmations that I got from the esteemed Dr. LaPera. No, she is my OG. I love her.
She is, man. You are like, does she have, you know what? We need to see what the cult is. Does she have a cult? Because I think you would totally sign up.
She does, and I love her. I love her.
You get the emails. You on the cult.
I am. She amazing. I love her. But one of the things she wrote, she said one of the most dangerous addictions is the addiction to external validation, and I love that because I think that a lot of us, we are so consumed with what the outside world is thinking about us and how this person sees us. And when we do that, a lot of times we don't do the inner work for ourselves to allow ourselves to grow. And so I just challenge us to seek internal validation versus external. And so I love that. And the last thing I'm going to leave with her, she spoke about, you aren't here to live, work endlessly, and seek validation and to be approved by everyone. The more authentic you are, the less approval you'll get. So I challenge you to have the courage to not be for everyone and watch how much better life you get for yourself. So those affirmations really stuck with me. And yeah, she's on God level. I love her. Anyway, we appreciate you all listening today. We're going to get out of here. We will see you all soon.
Thank you. Keep maintaining.